Harivom. Gunatitamanam chidanandarupam chidabhasakam sarvagam dhyanagamyam. Gunatitamanam chidanandarupam chidabhasakam sarvagam dhyanagamyam. Monirthyeyamakasharupam paresham Parabrahmarupam Ganesham Bhajema. Parabrahmarupam Ganesham Bhajema. Parabrahmarupam Ganesham Bhajema. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. Welcome to session 51 of Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. Today, we are going to have a recap of chapter 7, study of which we completed last week. Dr. Sanjay Banakal, Srimati Shamala Shetty, Dr. Komal Prasad, Dr. Anupama Shetty, Srimati Meenakshi, and Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra will tell us about this recap. It will take us back to all the complete chapter 7. Dr. Hegde sir will summarize the talks at the end and give a brief about next session. Sri C.S. Nagaraj will chant Durga Suktam for us after the recap. Now, Dr. Hegde sir will introduce us to today's session. Over to you, sir.
Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We have completed this amazing 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which focuses on Ishvara Swarupam, Ishvara Anugraha, Ishvara Upasana. We had a brilliant beginning with Sri Krishna on his own, telling us that I will reveal my true nature to you completely in such a manner that there is nothing worth more than that, there is nothing worth knowing in this life. Having gone through this chapter once again, what struck me very significantly was the importance of Ishvara and how we can bring in God in daily life. Swami Dayananda does not like to use the word God because the word God has been abused. So often in daily life, people use the word, oh God, my God, without any significance. He would rather use the word Ishvara. Now, why is the greatness of Ishvara? Ishvara ultimately is the karma paladata. He determines the outcome of all our actions. Ishvara is the one who keeps the creation in proper harmony. Ishvara is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, the one who's responsible for this creation, one for whom the whole creation resolves into. That is why Ishvara is also called Paramatma. Ishvara is the one from whom all these scriptures have come. And Ishvara is also the one who has given us the Guru and given us this opportunity to study Brahma Vidya. In what way can we express our gratefulness? How in our daily life can we become more sensitive to the presence of Ishvara? Because now I realize Ishvara is there in and through everything. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidanti dhananjaya my sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. Shri Krishna is in me, Shri Krishna is around me. And to be able to perceive that, I need to be extremely sensitive. There is this doha from Kabir which says, Guru Govind do khade. Imagine a situation when suddenly your Guru and Govinda appears. And we are told how much reverence we need to give our Guru, because I prostrate to my Guru first, because of my Guru I have got Govinda. But now I know how much more I need to be grateful to Ishvara, because Ishvara has given me my Guru and Ishvara has given me all this knowledge. The more sensitive we become, the more we see Sri Krishna everywhere. The Shiva Sutras begin in a very brilliant way. Lord Shiva is telling Parvati in one of the cryptic verses, Vismayaha Yoga Bhumika, which means the foundation to spirituality is when you have those wondering eyes. When you have those eyes which in the 11th chapter Shri Krishna will reveal to Arjuna as the Divya Chakshu. That is the divinization process through Jnanam. Once I have that divinization through Jnanam, I will be able to see godliness in me, godliness around me. And therefore, can we follow certain practices which will help us to bring Ishvara every moment of our life? Right from the time we wake up in the morning, we are still in bed. There is a prayer which says, Karagre Vasate Lakshmi, Karamadde Saraswati, Karamule Sthite Gauri Mangalam Karadarshana. Can I be able to see all the three Devis on the palm of my hand? Because this whole creation is the world of the Devis. And I need the anugraha, the blessing of the Lord for everything that I do in daily life. Before I put my feet on the ground, I'm very perceptible to Bhudevi, Goddess Lakshmi. And from then on, every moment, even now, as my feet is on the ground, I'm sensitive to Goddess Devi. And I begin with this prayer, Samudra Vasane Devi Parvati Stanamandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padas Parshak Shamasvave. As I go to have a wash, the water is none other than Ganga and Yamuna. Once I come to the prayer room and I light a lamp, Agni is now Pratyaksha Devata. And there are so many beautiful prayers like Agne Naya Supatarai Asman, Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan, and so on. When you drink water, Shri Krishna says, the essence of the water, the taste in the water is me. Any light that you see from the sun or the moon or even your artificial light is also reminders of Shri Krishna. Every Vedas, the pranava in all, the essence of all the Vedas is the pranava. So let me see Shri Krishna in all the scriptures that I study. Any sound that I hear, let it not be a disturbance. Every sound that I hear is a reminder of Shri Krishna, and the godliness or the greatness or manliness of man is the humanness in all human beings. Each time we eat food, remember these three prayers. Annapurne Sadapurne Shankara Prana Vallabhe. In addition to asking for food, you're asking for Jnanam and Vairagyam. There are two other beautiful prayers which bring the abilities to see Brahman everywhere. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam. And this prayer also coming from the Gita, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva. And we eat so many times a day. But let us religiously be sensitive before I eat to be able to make this prayer. Once I come out and I see a tree, in any tree, particularly the people tree, let me be able to see all the three Trimurtis. Mulato Brahma Rupaya, Madhyato Vishnu Rupini, Agratasya Shiva Rupaya, Vraksharajayate Namaha. Now, any activity that we do begins with Ishvara, ends with Ishvara. There is this beautiful song which helps us to remind that whenever we're taking medicines, think of Vishnu. Whenever you're eating, think of Janardana. Whenever you are lying down, think of Padmanabha. As we have many doctors here, each time you write out a prescription, now can you bring in a reverence to God there? This is a beautiful song. Instead of reading it, I will request Shamala to sing this for us. Shamala, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Aushadhe chintayet Vishnum, Bhojane cha Janardhanam, Shayane Padmanabhan cha, Vivahe cha Prajapatim, Yuddhe Chakradharan Devam, Pravase cha Trivikramam, Narayanam Tanutyage, Sridharam Priyasangame, Duswapne Smara Govindam, Sankate Madhusudanam. कानने नारसिंहं च पावके जलशायिनं जलमध्ये वराहं च पर्वते रघुनन्दनं गमने वामनं चैव सर्वकार्येषु माधवम् षोडशैतानि नामानि प्रातरुत्थाय यः पठेत् सर्वपापविनिर्मुक्तो विष्णुलोके महीयते.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We just completed the first section of Bhagavad Gita. We are entering into the second section of the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, if the topic which is highlighted in the first section was the individual, the microcosm, and that is the first section. And in the middle section, the topic which is highlighted by Krishna is about the macrocosm, that is God. In addition to the nature of God, he highlights two more topics, that is the meditation on God and the importance of the grace of God. So the first three verses happen to be the introductory verses for this chapter, not only this chapter, for the next few chapters of this middle section. So in the verse number 1, Krishna says, "O Partha, listen to the way in which you will know me completely without any doubt." What does he mean by knowing totally? Arjuna knows Krishna to some extent, but he doesn't have a complete picture of Krishna. That is, Krishna here represents the God. Now, knowing both the higher nature and the lower nature of Krishna, which he later describes it as Para-Prakriti and Apara-Prakriti. Para-Prakriti is a God without attributes, and Apara-Prakriti is a God with attributes, which we can say as Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma. So the knowledge of these two constitutes the knowledge of God. So God is made of both Apara and Para-Prakriti. Now, there are a few preconditions which Krishna puts forth in the first line of this shloka. He says, Mai asakta manaha. You should have interest in me, the God. When can a person have interest? A person will have an interest only when he makes it as a goal. So he says, make God as your goal, the ultimate goal in life. Only then one can have interest in this subject. Why should one make God as a goal? Ultimately, human beings want independence, peace, and happiness, and we seek it from the external world. But all of them are finite and will not be long-lasting. Here, God being infinite or who is complete, God alone represents the ultimate security, and that's why God should be made the goal of one's life. He says, Yogam Yunjan, put forth proper effort, self-effort, such as Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. So when one puts forth the effort in the proper direction, don't be arrogant, says, take refuge in me, Madashrayaha, seek the grace of God, then you will be able to know God completely. So he coming to the next verse, he says, I will teach you this knowledge of God, both in his higher and the lower nature, without any omission. That is Para and Apara Prakriti. Saguna and Nirguna Brahmajnanam. Saguna Brahmajnanam is the knowledge of God with attributes. It is a duality. This is also known as Dvaita Jnanam, whereas the knowledge of God without attributes is non-duality, Advaita Jnanam or Abheda Jnanam. Having gained this knowledge, there is nothing else to know hereafter. One will be completely satisfied. This is what Krishna says, that having gained this knowledge, it satisfies one's intellectual thirst. Now, there is no more running after for happiness. This is the ultimate, the highest knowledge one can have. And this verse has been borrowed from Mundaka Upanishad, wherein the student asks his teacher, "O teacher, teach me the knowledge of that by which everything else in this creation is known." So this is the ultimate knowledge. In the verse number 3, Krishna glorifies this knowledge because of its extreme rarity. He says, among thousands of people, a few strive towards attaining liberation. Very few people strive towards this goal. Why? Because most of them are busy pursuing other purusharthas, dharma, artha, and kama. They have never heard of moksha, or even if they have heard of moksha, they procrastinate and they are not interested. So even among those who make an effort to know this knowledge, a very rare one will know me in reality ultimately. This is because they do not know how to get this. Even those who strive towards it, they are putting their efforts in the wrong direction. The only method, Paramarthananda ji says, is self-inquiry, that is systematic and consistent study of scriptures under the guidance of a competent teacher. That is Guru, Shastra, Upadesha, Shravanam. So with this introduction and giving a big advertisement, Krishna moves on to the subject proper of the nature of God in the subsequent verses. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. From 4th verse to 12th verse, Lord Krishna talks about Ishvara Swarupam, the nature of God. And Lord Krishna pointed out that the Ishvara consists of two parts. One is the higher nature, which is of the nature of consciousness, Paraprakriti, and the other is lower nature, which is of the nature of matter, Aparaprakriti. Next slide, please. In the 4th verse, Krishna talks about Aparaprakriti, Maya aspect of Brahma. And out of that Ishvara takes place the evolution of this world, gradually like a seed becoming a plant, which is an intermediary stage, and then becomes a tree. Similarly, the Aparaprakriti part of Ishvara will evolve to an intermediary stage, which gets divided into 8 components in the subtle form, Sukshma Tattvam. They are 5 Panchabhutas and Mana, Buddhi, Ankara. Next slide, please. In the 5th verse, just as Aparaprakriti is in the creation, Paraprakriti is also very much within this creation. Krishna says, whatever you experience is Aparaprakriti. Then what is Paraprakriti? You, the experiencer, the observer Jiva, is Paraprakriti, the very consciousness which is invisible principle. This inert body-mind complex is enlivened by the consciousness. This is higher nature. Because of that consciousness principle alone, idam jagat dharyate, the entire inert material universe is sustained and maintained. Next slide, please. In the 6th verse, etat yonini bhutani sarvani iti upadharaya. Krishna says, please understand that all things in this world are the product of these two sources, para and Aparaprakriti. It includes all living beings and non-living beings, and nothing is left out. Aham Krishnasya Jagataha Prabhavaha Pralayastaha. Shri Krishna says, I am the origin of this entire world. So too, I am the one into whom everything resolves. This is a continuous process: evolution, existence, and involution. Very, very important portion in which we are seeing in the 7th verse, Mattaha Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. Arjuna, there is nothing called effect other than cause. There are no ornaments other than gold. There is nothing that is separate from God. Therefore, he says, Mai Sarvamidam Protam Sutre Manigana Iva. Just as the thread is inherent in the beads, I am the Sarva Antaryami. Next slide, please. In the 8th verse, Krishna wants us not only to understand this fact, but to bring about an attitudinal change. Rasohamapsu Kaunteya. Arjuna, I am the taste in the water. And then he continues, I am the light in the sun and moon. I am the essence of the Vedas, which is reduced to Om. I am the sound in space, and in human being, I am his strength. Krishna continues in 9th verse, I am the fragrance in the earth. I am the heat principle in Agni, the very life principle in all living being, because of which a living being is a living being. And in those tapasvis, I am tapaha. I am the austerity. Next slide, please. In the 10th verse, Krishna says, understand me as the one who is the eternal seed from which all living beings come into being. I am the very intelligence principle behind the intelligent people. I am the valor in valorous, in the bold people. And in the 11th verse, Krishna says, I am the constructive strength, dharmika balam, in the strong people. It is free from selfish desires. Even desire in you is me, as long as it is in the conformity with dharma. If any one of these virtues is in us, we should remember they really do not belong to us, but they are the manifestation of God. Next slide, please. Until now, Lord Krishna talked about the external world, which is a product of the Lord. Now Krishna points out in the 12th verse, not only the external world, even the internal world of thoughts pertaining to sattva, rajas, and tamas have come from me only. Thought process born of sattva, rajas, or tamas, they exist in me, but I do not exist in them. I don't depend on them, but they depend entirely on me. With this verse, Krishna concludes the topic of Ishvara Swarupam. Hari Om.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Having given this much description of Ishvara Swarupa, Sri Krishna now enters into the crucial subject matter. When everything is God and divine, why should the human being suffer samsara? We are not talking about a particular human problem, but we are talking about the general human problem of samsara, because of which one feels incomplete. The general feeling of insecurity, the feel and the need for a support, sense of incompleteness, always restless, something lacking, without being specific, some kind of discomfort which we all have always within us. This security, incompleteness, insecurity. This is the universal problem. Different people try to solve this problem in various different ways, by acquiring things, by increasing relationships, by extending the family, by having position, fame, name, like that. We try to get out of the problem, but the truth is nothing really seems to work. And this problem, this fundamental problem, is called samsara. Krishna is diagnosing the disease called samsara and suggests a remedy. So these two verses, 13 and 14, are very important. 13th verse is about the diagnosis of samsara. And the 14th verse is the treatment, the medicine, the remedy for it. The problem is this. The superior nature of Lord happens to be formless, colorless, changeless principle. And therefore, we miss the para-prakriti, the higher nature, because all our organs are meant to perceive and register the changing object with properties. Therefore, the problem is para-prakriti is not available for our perception. That's why it's called aprameya. You cannot see, hear, smell, taste, or touch. So because para-prakriti does not have shabda, sparsha, rasa, rupa, gandha, how can we perceive a nirguna object? And not only we do not perceive or recognize the para-prakriti, we do not even make an attempt to know para-prakriti. Swamiji gives this example of the story of Mohini in Puranas, where the Rakshasas, the Asuras will miss the nectar because of the beautiful face of Mohini. The Asuras get attracted to the Mohini's face, and even though the nectar, the Amrutam is just next to her, like Para and Apara, so they are always together. They miss it because they get distracted by the beautiful, attractive face for which their senses, their gunas are tuned into. Similarly, we are always preoccupied with the changing universe of the sound and color and form and smell and taste. And if we are not preoccupied with the universe, we are preoccupied with our own body. Thus, the world and the body and mind are so wonderfully attractive that a person is carried away by them. And because of this preoccupation, we are never interested in para-prakriti. Like we can see in this optical illusion, even though it will be hard to believe that each one of these spheres are of same color in the background. But because of the color which is superimposed on that, they look predominantly green or red or blue. It's hard to believe we can make out only if we zoom it and see. So it's an optical illusion because our senses are made to sense the guna of the things around us. So that's why here the Sri Krishna says mohitam, deluded. And therefore what happens? Tribir gunamayer bhave. Bhava represents not only the external objects. According to Shankaracharya, bhava represents emotions also. Because of this mohitam, mamebhyam param avyayam na vichanati. They do not come to know. They do not even attempt to know ma, that is me, which means that the higher me, the paraprakriti, the superior me. So now Swamiji also touched on the question that what is the harm if we do not know paraprakriti? And he answers that if we do not know that purnatvam, which is the basic necessity, that fulfillment in life will never come. For that fulfillment and peace, that purnatvam, that knowing paraprakriti is the absolute requirement. So after diagnosing, Krishna enters into the solution, the remedy, the next verse. Thank you, sir.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verses 14 to 19. Samsara Karanam and Samsara Parihara. Lord Krishna says that the cause of samsara is Apara Prakriti, the matter principle. In pursuit of peace, security, and happiness, we exhaust ourselves acquiring and preserving the perishable Apara Prakriti. This is called Yoga Kshema. Expecting security from the insecure is our delusion. See the irony. We, as human beings, in the form of Para-Prakriti, desperately seeking peace, security, and happiness in Apara-Prakriti. This is the genesis of samsara. What is the remedy? Next slide, please. Prapattihi or Sharanagatihi. This is Jnana Rupa Bhakti. Bhakti, as we know, is a range of sadhanas which culminate with the realization that God is neither the means nor the end, but one with me. The stages of evolution of bhakti are, starting as manda or sakama bhakti, one has artha bhakti, that is, surrendering to God only during crisis. Next is artharthi bhakti, seeking wealth, possession, profits, etc. Here, God is a means to gain material ends. With evolution, one becomes a nishkama bhakta. The world now becomes the means and God is the end. This is madhyama bhakti or jignasu bhakti. One has a deep desire to know God. Finally, uttama bhakti or jnani bhakti. Here, God is neither the means nor the end. The seeker is identical with the sought. Samsara parihara is asatoma sadgamaya. Only those who seek will find the solution to samsara. Krishna says, Mama Daivi Maya Gunamayi Duratyaya. The three gunas of Maya, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, are powerful deluding traps which make it difficult to transcend from the Asat, Apara Prakriti, to the Sat, Para Prakriti. Lord Krishna says that Maya belongs to him. Why Mama Maya? Because Ishvara is the Adhishtanam of Maya. When the Bhakta seeks Ishvara Kripa, God grants him a Guru. The Guru imparts Shastra Jnana, which reveals to the Bhakta the truth, Tat Tvam Asi. You are the limitless existence consciousness, that very Ishvara who needs nothing from this Apara Prakriti. This is the shift from Asat to Sat. This is the end of samsara. Why is this bhakti so rare? Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. One needs punya from many previous births to be an uttama bhakta. Manushatvam, mumukshutvam, mahapurushatvam is rare indeed. Most people waste their human birth being ensnared with artha and kama. When there is no punya, there is no bhakti. Avidyayam antare vartamana swayam dhira panditam manyamana. These people know nothing but think that they know everything. Lord Krishna describes those who don't surrender to him as dushpritinaha, the vicious, nara adama, mean people, apahrita jnana, deprived of discrimination, Moodaha, deluded, and Asura Bhavam, demons by nature. Why is a Jnana Bhakta unique? Lord Krishna says that a Jnani Bhakta is dear to him, Saha Priya Mama, because he is the greatest, Vishishyate. He is unique because he is a Nitya Yukta, meaning Ishvara Nishta. He is Eka Bhakta, that is Advaita or Abeda Bhakta. He also thinks Mam Eva Anuttamam Gatim Astitaka. He has resorted to me, Vasudeva, as the highest goal. What is the meaning of Vasudeva? Vasuhu means Vasati Sarvani Bhutani iti Vasuhu. It is the Sat Tattvam, existence principle in which all Nama Rupas exist. It is the giver of existence or Sat. What is the meaning of Deva? Divyati Swayam Sarvada Prakashateti Devaha. It is the Chit Rupa of Chit, the nature of consciousness upon which all Nama Rupas are superimposed and from which all Nama Rupas borrow consciousness. Vasudeva is Sat Chit Brahma. For this Jnani Bhakta, Vasudeva is the goal, the means, the path, and the destination. Krishna says, Jnani tu Atma eva mamamatam. Even though all bhaktas are noble, udara, the Jnani is none other than me. He knows that Vasudevam Sarvam iti. This is the universal vision of God. Such a Jnani, Krishna says, is Mahatma, the greatest soul, and Sudurlabha, extremely rare. Thank you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Krishna talks about Sakama Bhakti from verse 20 to 26. Bhakti may be translated as devotion and worship to God. It may be classified as Sakama Bhakti and Nishkama Bhakti, as we saw in the earlier verse. Adopting Bhakti as a means for accomplishing finite goals of life is Sakama Bhakti, which may be in the form of Dharma, Artha, and Kama. It acts as a stepping stone to Nishkama Bhakti. Nishkama Bhakti means Bhakti utilized for realizing the infinite God. Thus, Nishkama Bhakti is superior to Sakama Bhakti. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna symbolizes the infinite moksha. Worshipping all other devatas represents Sakama Bhakti, since the goal is limited. Swami Paramarthanandaji says this may be termed as materialistic bhakti. Now in verse 20, the Lord says, people worship the Anya Devatas governed by their own nature as per the prescribed norms and rituals to attain material gains. People invoke the Devata of a particular field desired by them and then carry out the elaborate rituals to attain their goal. Their knowledge is limited in the sense they forget that the Supreme Lord is the source of all that exists in the world, including the other devatas. The term used here is Hritagnanaha, meaning people whose discriminative powers are veiled or obstructed, hence they worship Anya Devatas. However, in verse number 21, Krishna says, whichever devotee desires to worship faithfully any particular form, I stabilize that very faith of that devotee. Here, Krishna says he himself is the creator of the faith in the different devatas. When a devotee worships with faith or shraddha for the fulfillment of his material desires, he helps such a devotee by stabilizing or steadying his faith. It is the indwelling Paramatma who inspires faith in the hearts of a devotee. All the Anya Devatas are a part of the infinite Lord. So, any form of worship goes to the Lord alone. He is the recipient of every offering. Thus, it is rightly said, Sarva Deva Namaskaraha Keshavam Pratigachati. In verse 22, Krishna says, the bhakta who worships the particular devata with faith will ultimately obtain all his desires, and adds, Tan Kaman Mayeva Vihitan. Those desires are all verily dispensed by me alone. Krishna blesses the devotee through that particular devata. In short, Krishna validates Sakama Bhakti. A Sakama Bhakta enjoys the fruits of his worship. Swamiji says every Parichinna Devata is like a postman only. They are intermediaries. Krishna alone is the receiver of all pujas and also ultimate karma phaladata. Verse 23, the fruits accruing to those bhaktas who worship Anya Devatas in pursuit of material gains are finite. Krishna calls such bhaktas as Alpa Medhasam, men of small understanding. Such worshippers finally attain those devatas only, but men who worship the infinite Lord discover their identity with the eternal absolute self. He wants us not to choose the wrong path, pursue limited goals, or rise above the obvious and seek eternal. The choice is ours. Krishna supports us in our chosen path and ensures we obtain that what we strive for. All paths eventually lead to him. Verse 24, Krishna says, the less intelligent think that I, the Supreme Lord, was formless earlier and have now assumed this personality. They do not understand the imperishable, exalted nature of my divine form. Krishna is pointing out here two aspects of his essential nature, which are Chaitanya Tattvam, the consciousness aspect belonging to the higher nature, and Jada Tattvam, which is of lower nature. Ignorant ones to whom Krishna addresses as Abuddhaya recognize only the physical form of the Lord to be his real nature, that is Jada Tattvam. They think the Lord who was formless earlier has now manifested himself. Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam. We see such instances in many Puranas. Then he talks about his higher nature, the Chaitanya Tattvam, which pervades and shines in and through the whole creation. Mama Param Bhavam Avyayam Anuttamam. My superior nature is changeless and unsurpassed. Thus, a Sakama Bhakta holds on to the Apara Prakriti of the Lord, while a Nishkama Bhakta alone perceives the superiority or the Para Prakriti of the Lord. Verse 25, here the Lord says he is not evident or manifest to all because of his Yoga Maya or veiling power. The deluded fall under the influence of Maya. He says this deluded world knows not me, who is unborn and imperishable. Ayam lokaha na abhijanati mam ajam avyayam. He declares, I am birthless and deathless. Verse 26, the Lord is addressing Arjuna and declares that he knows everything at all times in all places, but he is known by none at any place or at any time. The Almighty has the record of the thoughts, words, and deeds of every individual Atma. However, with our finite intellect, we cannot perceive his infinite glories. However, in conclusion, a shloka in Kathopanishad appropriately points out, Naisha Tarkena Matirapaneya. God is beyond the scope of our intellectual logic. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the introduction to the verse 27th to 30th, Krishna is telling Arjuna that most human beings are ignorant about their true nature, that the God lives within themselves and the infinite peace and security is within. Due to punya done either in this life or the previous life, which you can call as a noble action, they sometimes seek the true nature of him, which is Krishna, but these are few people. Further, due to their firm resolve, they understand what is Brahman, what is Karma, and what is Adhyatma. And such people will remember him at the time of death also. Now coming to the verse 27, which says, Iksha dvesha samuttena dvandmohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapah. O Bharata, O Arjuna, dvandmohena, due to the delusion of duality, which is caused by desire and hatred. Iksha dvesha samuttena sarvabhutani, all beings, yanti sammoham, get deluded, sarge, at the time of birth itself, O Arjuna. O Arjuna, due to the delusion of duality caused by desire and hatred, all beings get deluded at the time of birth itself, O Arjuna. Sarva bhutani yanti sammoham. All the beings are deluded by the duality caused by the hatred and desire at the time of birth. The life of a asakta starts very early, where attractions are different in different stages of life. For example, Balavastha, Kridasakta, Tarunavastha, Tarunisakta, Vriddhavastha, Chintasakta. The duality which gets created, caused by desire and hatred, is to achieve what? Sukha and avoid dukkha. And sukha, which is very short lasting, and dukkha, which is inevitable, it is going to come. And man chases this the whole life and mostly dies without even knowing it. Next slide, please. But the Vedanta teaches us that world is neither the cause of happiness or unhappiness. Cause of both unhappiness or happiness is centered on me. To know my real nature is the quest. And once known, this ignorance gone, there is no sorrow left. That delusion of duality which starts at the time of birth, what happens to that when it is gone? Next slide, please. So the next verse says, Esham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvand moha nirmukta bhajante mam drana vrata. Tu, however, te jananam, those of the people who have done some punya karmanam, who are of noble actions, esham papam, whose papas have antagatam, have ended, danda moha nirmukta, and those who have become totally free from the delusion of duality, bhajante mam, seek me with a resolve, dranavrata. However, those of the people who are of the noble actions, whose papa has ended and who are totally free from the delusion of duality, seek me with a firm resolve. Now, Krishna tells that due to results of the karma phala, there are some papas have ended and now they have become dvand nirmukta, and who are totally free from the delusion of their duality. Te bhajante mam, with a resolve, they start seeking Brahma anaveshanam, seeking the infinite, and leading them to Nishkama Bhakti. Next verse would tell what is Nishkama Bhakti. Let's go to the next verse. Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye te brahma tat viduhu pratsmam adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. Ashritya mam, having resorted to me, te ye yatanti, those who strive to be free from the decay and death. Jaya maranam moksha hai. Viduhu, come to know, tad brahmam, that Brahman, kritsanam, completely, adhyatmam, this is the new word which is introduced, chakarma, akhilam, completely. Having resorted to me, those who strive for freedom from decay and death come to know that Brahman completely, the self completely, and karma completely. When I understand the world is not the cause of the sorrow, but I am the cause of both sorrow and happiness, my misunderstanding is now gone. And there is no delusion of rope with the snake in such situation. There is a light now to see. The fear of death, although continues even after we have understood, and then the jignasa bhakti begins. So we are all on that state now, that we have got a knowledge, but there is still that delusion of the scare of death continues. And then where the jignasa bhakti begins, the quest of moksha from jaramaranam ends in those ye yatanti. Some people work for that immortality, work for that freedom, mam ashritya, by taking shelter in me. Now Krishna introduces some suspense in the explanation. Te brahma tad viduhu kritsmam adhyatmam karma chakilam. What suspense? So there is introduction of the new term. Such a person becomes a viduhu, who is a knower of Brahman, karma, and adhyatmam. The meaning of these terms is given in the 8th chapter. So be patient. You will come to know about them. Now, the last verse. Sadhi bhut adhidevam mam sadhigyam cha ye vidhu prayana kale apichamam te vidhu yukta chetasaha. Te yukta chetasaha. Those whose mind has become disciplined. Ye vidhu. Who know mam, me. Sadhi bhuta adhidevam, along with adhibhuta and adhideva. Cha sadhigyam, and adhigyana vidumam, will remember me prayana kale apicha, at the time of death also. Those with disciplined mind who know me along with adhibhuta, adhideva, and adhyajna will remember me at the time of death also. So those minds get purer and purer, and their obstacles get lesser and lesser. Punya karmana jnanam papam antagatam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhavati. Now in this verse, Krishna introduces 3 more words. What are those 3? Adhibhutam, adhidevam, adhyajnam cha. Totally, there are now 6 factors which will be explained, which is Brahma, Karma, Adhyatmam, Adhibhutam, Adhidevam, Adhyajnam. These are the mix of Para and Apara Prakriti, which is, of course, being discussed already. The knower of those 6 factors are the Yukta Chetasaha, disciplined mind. Such a wise person will remember him at the time of death also. Prayana Kale Picha Mam. Those Nishkama Bhaktas will remember him or Krishna at the time of death also. Now, what are those 6 factors? What is the significance of remembering his name at the time of death? Will be discussed in the 8th chapter, which is to follow after the 7th chapter. Hari Om. Thank you very much.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Jata Vedase Sunavama Marati Yato Nidahati Vedaha Sanapashadati Durgani Vishwanave Vasindunduritat Tam Agnivarnan Tapasa Jwalantim Vairajanim Karma Pale Sujushtam Durgam Devi Kum Sharanamaham Prabhadye Sutarasitarase Namaha Agne Tvam Paraya Navya Asman Swaste Virati Durgani Vishwa Poscha Prutve Bahulana Urve Bhavatoka Yatanaya Yashanyo Vishwanino Durgaha Jataveda Sindhunna Nava Duritati Parshi Agne Atrivan Manasa Grunana Asvakam Bodhya Vita Tanuna Purutanajitagum Rahamana Mugram Agnegum Huvema Paramat Tadasta Atem Sanapashadati Durgani Vishwa Kshamad Devo Ati Duritat Yagnihi प्रत्नशिखमेड्य अध्वरेषु सनाच्च होता नव्यश्च सत्सि स्वाञ्च आग्नेतनुवं पिप्रयस्वास्मभ्यं च सौभगमायजस्व गोभिर्जुष्टमयजो निषिक्तं तवेन्द्रविष्णोरनुसञ्चरेम नाकस्य पुष्टमभिसंवसानां वैष्णवीं लोक इह मादयन्ताम् ॐ कात्यायनाय विद्महे कन्याकुमारी धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गे प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति.
Thank you, Nagraj, for your immaculate and divine chanting of Durga Suktam. Friends, I am proud to introduce Sri Nagraj, who is my childhood friend. He has a degree in mechanical engineering. He started his career with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Soon he shifted to Indian Telephone Industries. After a long successful service and reaching the post of Chief Material Manager, he took voluntary retirement and turned to private sector. Presently, he is a consultant faculty in an American company called IPC, who are engaged in electronic manufacturing standards. While this is his professional profile, I have to add that he hates my very orthodox family. His maternal uncle, late Subramanya, who was his guru, was a state gymnastic champion. He was a great scholar and was actively engaged in teaching Shastras and values. Thank you all speakers for your nice presentations and Dr. Hegde sir for guiding us through today's session. Before commencement of 7th chapter, we had begun study of Upadeshasara and have completed first 16 verses. Coming Friday, we will continue from where we have left and study verse 16 to 22. As always, please log in by 6:45 p.m. on that day. Until then, Jai Shri Krishna. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.